If only all custom tools worked as good as this little guy does. Hey folks, we're back again with another video, and today we're going to be installing rotors onto wheel hubs and then the wheel onto the bike and making sure that the rotor is aligned with the caliper. This is a very easy job, not much to follow, but ultimately there are some details that you need to pay attention to if you've never done this before, all right? So let's quickly go into the tools needed for this job. So I'm going to be installing Centerlock rotors here, right? If you have a 6-bolt, it's going to be identical process. The only difference being is that we need 2 tools for the Centerlock rings. As opposed to a 6-bolt, you're just going to need whatever Allen your bolts are, which is typically a 4mm or a 5mm, most likely a 4mm, all right? But in my case, since this is Centerlock, we're going to need 2 different tools, one of them for the front lock ring. That is going to be a 16-point bottom bracket tool. So here I have a BBT 19.2. And then for the rear lock ring, we're going to need a regular cassette tool. Very easy to find. You might even have one. A ratchet to help start everything off, but you will absolutely need a torque wrench. I absolutely recommend torquing these things down correctly. If you do, they will never slip on you, all right? I've seen people on trails where these things have come loose. It's not because these things come loose. 2 reasons why they come loose. 1, the biggest reason, they weren't torqued down right. 2, when they were installed, they didn't clean the threads on both the hub and the lock ring, okay? So you got to make sure there's a couple of details that you take care of or that you consider when putting this together. Then, when it comes to putting the wheel on the bike, well, we're going to need any kind of tool that your bolts on your caliper are. In my case, it's going to be a 4mm Allen, could be a 5mm Allen on others. Other ones are T25 Torx, so they're different, whatever your bike is or brakes are in your bike. But one tool that I absolutely love that I've been using for years and years and years and years is this Hayes brake caliper alignment tool. This thing is just awesome. You can't recommend it enough. Go buy it. You'll have it forever and you will never run into alignment issues again, all right? So with that being said, let's go into, well, the job. So we're going to start off with the front wheel first, right? Now, when it comes to grabbing rotors, you never want to grab the edges. You only want to grab it from the middle. Never get your hand oils, and always make sure you have clean hands, like mine are super clean right now. But even if they're clean, doesn't mean there's no natural oils on them. You never want to get your oils on the rotor itself, right? So we're going to take this guy now. This guy's sort of sided, right? You have these little steps over here, and here it's sort of like concave. Or, yeah, concave. We're going to put them in just like that, all right? Then we're going to take our lock ring. Always start it by hand. Always, always, always start it by hand. Let's grab our tool. Put them in as much as we can by hand. Then we could try and do a little bit more before we bring out the torque wrench to see if there's more to go. We are going clockwise, so righty-tighty. Now, most people will try and do it by hand, and that's it. And that's the worst thing you can do. You really want to make sure you torque this down correctly. If you look at it, they say 40 Newton meters, and they're not kidding. You want to do 40 Newton meters, right? You do not want to do 30 Newton meters. And 30 Newton meters is a good amount of force, especially when using something short like this. So when it comes to torque wrenches, I'm set at 40 Newton meters, right? Now remember, with torque wrenches, we never grab them here. We never grab them like this. Torque wrenches were meant to be grabbed by the edge of the handle just like that. And they were meant to be pulled down evenly, right? In a circular fashion, basically. So I'm going to put the tool in there. And then we are just going to bring them down. See what I mean? Even with this kind of length, this is a good amount of force. And I'm at 40 Newton meters. All right, so we have our front wheel done. Now we move to the rear wheel. For the rear wheel, it's the same thing. You never want to touch the edges with your hands. No matter what, at any point, never touch your brake rotor edge with your hands. 2, this one is used. The other one, the front, was a brand new rotor. This one's a used rotor, lightly used, right? But used nonetheless. Now what I did do is I did take brake cleaner and cleaned off the rotor best I could. I'm going to do a rebedding with new pads on this bike when spring comes around the corner and I start riding it, all right? But we put it in the same way, just like that. Oh, again, so this is sort of like concave, right? Or, yeah, concave. And this has the edges, so we leave the edges above just like that. Now, this is a different lock ring, okay? This is just a regular cassette lock ring, essentially, or similar to a cassette lock ring. We're going to take that, we're going to put it by hand, always by hand first. We're going to take our cassette tool, finish it off. Now, always, one thing I should have mentioned as well. So again, never touch the edges, clean it with alcohol or brake cleaner, and if it's used, make absolutely sure that the threads on the inside are as clean and free of debris as possible, okay? And the threads on the lock ring, make sure they are clean. We want to get the best, most even connection to the hub in order to ensure that the lock ring doesn't slip out, especially if you torque it right. So again, let's put this guy in here, always by hand. Now, if we look at this lock ring, it's a different lock ring. This one is 35 Newton meters right there. So I'm going to take them down. You definitely want to hit that 35 Newton meters. All right. Again, hold the torque wrench correctly, and then just bring it down. $35 on the money. Now again, look how much force. That's a lot of force. 35 Newton meters with a long arm like this for leverage is still a significant amount of force, right? On a shorter arm, it's going to be even more force. So most people think that they're at high torque specs, but they're actually not. They're way lower than they should be, and that's how you run into issues with lock rings. Get that towel, with lock rings coming loose. Okay, so now let's go to the bike and put one of these wheels in. We have the wheel on the bike. Before we move forward, make sure you have either new gloves on or very, very clean hands. Again, we don't want to get our oils on our hands on the rotor or in the brake pad during this process, all right? So what we're trying to do over here is just make sure that the rotor is centered to the disc brakes, or the brake pads, I should say, right? Now, a good way to start off is to make sure that your pistons in the caliper are equally protruding from the caliper on each side, right? You don't want one to be out like 3-4 millimeters and the other one is out by 0.5 millimeter, right? So I'm looking at mine and they're pretty much even. They're about 0.5 millimeter out each one. So that's good enough for now. So the way this works, first, we want to make sure that the caliper floats. So what we're going to do, in my case, I'm going to grab a 4 millimeter Allen, and then I'm just going to turn it about a 1/4 turn, or until it loosens just a little bit. We don't want it to loosen a lot, right? We just want it to float. So right now it's still not floating. So let's take this top one. There we go. I just saw it move. Now it's floating. Don't unscrew the bolts too much. It's only going to make it more difficult to tighten it all down and make sure that everything falls evenly when we're tightening, because we have to tighten them evenly, right? So right now it's floating. Next, what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab my little gauge over here. And I'm going to take the gauge, and now before we use this gauge, clean the outside and the inside with alcohol and a paper towel. Do not touch the outside with your bare hands, because this part's going to touch the brake pads. You do not want to get oils from your hands onto the brake pads, right? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to squeeze this guy on here, okay? And then we're going to put him through. Now we need to watch out over here, because we do not want him to go in and sag down. We want him to cover both brake pads evenly, completely, all right? What I'm going to do next is hold on to the brake handle, pump it 3 times, and then hold on tight to it, all right? Just like that. And then I'm gonna grab my Allen again, and I'm gonna 1/4 turn by 1/4 turn, tighten this. Don't tighten one fully and then tighten the other one, because the torque might push the opposite side unevenly, and then you'll get clicks. All right, so we want to tighten it good enough to where you're about, let's say, 5-6 Newton meters. I don't like these bolts, but okay. So I'm pretty good over there. Now I'm going to let go of my handle, pull that tool out, turn the wheel, press the brakes, Turn it again. Whoop, I hear a little click. That could be one of two things. I'm not fully aligned, or I have a small warp in my brake disc. Even if it's a new disc, these things can come warped from the factory a little bit. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to try it all again just to make sure that it's not a warp. So once again, I loosen my rotor a little bit. I'm going to take my gauge. Now it might be a little bit more tricky getting it in there because our pad is already squeezed down on it, right? So now, and what I can do actually, well, now the whole thing just moved, but what I can do is, I could have done is turn the wheel around until I heard that click again, and then put this gauge in there. All right, so now we're even all the way across. Once again, press my handle down all the way, grab my Allen and tighten little by little, equally on each side. Look at it. Look at this thing's caught in there now. Great. All right. Oop. All right. Good enough for now. Take out the gauge. Hold it down. Do it again. Hold it down. No sounds whatsoever. We solved the click. Perfect. So if I do it slowly, I hear a nice even, see, there's definitely a small warp in the rotor. I could hear it right now if I squeeze further, but it's not a warp that will affect me now. I might have to take care of that as everything wears in. See what I mean? There's definitely a small warp, but that's insignificant. We can live with that. Now, if I look straight down, right, while pressing your lever, check your pistons, and both pistons are sticking out basically equally. Maybe not perfectly, but pretty close to equal, and that's what you want. Equal pressure coming on both sides. And there you have it, folks. You just finished installing Centerlock rotors onto Centerlock hubs. 6-bolt is going to be very similar procedure. And then taking the wheels, putting them on the bike and making sure that your rotor is aligned to your brake pads. Super simple job. Can't recommend enough using a gauge to actually help you with aligning the rotor to the brake pad. Those things are great. They're like 95% of the time you're going to get it right from the first shot. Every once in a while you might have to do it twice, or it turns out to be a bend or a warp in the rotor that you need to fix. Highly recommend at least once a year you bleed your brakes. Make sure you got fresh oil in there with no air bubbles. You're going to have to put the wheels back on. And when you do that, you're going to have to align this stuff anyway. And from that point on, you go out there and have a lot of fun with your bike. Just make sure to do the same thing to your rear wheel. I'm not going to show both. It's the exact same process. All right. So, folks, if you like this video, please click that like button, click that subscribe button to see more videos, click that bell button, ding, 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 in order to get notified when new videos get released, and more videos like this are coming. If you want to check out a couple of videos out right now, you can check these two out right here. They might be of interest. And until the next time, I hope all's well with all of you, and we will be talking to you soon. Take care. Have a good one.